Hi Kenan, my name is Jake, big fan of the podcast and Cars and Bids. Thank you very much, Jake. I had a question about your videos. Are you going to be making more produced videos for Cars and Bids like you did with the 599 and with the Z8? If you are, when are those coming and what is it like to film cars for Cars and Bids? Well, great question, Jake, and it just so happens that in about an hour, I'm going to leave for New Orleans and then St. Pete, Florida to film 2 different cars for the Cars and Bids YouTube channel. So why don't you all come along with me and see what it's like to film cars for Cars and Bids. Step 1. Picking the cars. Now, this process isn't down to just me. I also run these ideas past our producer, Sean, who ideates with me and kind of thinks about what the Cars and Bids audience might like to see. We like to pick cars that are maybe a little bit different, things that I haven't experienced that I can talk about and share the experience with you guys, and cars that we just think are interesting. In this particular case, we're picking 2 cars, a Jaguar XK140, which is lovely, and a McLaren MP4 12C Spider, 2 British convertible sports cars that could not be more different from one another. The way we pick these 2 cars is we go through and see all of the cars that are submitted to Cars and Bids. And when we do this, we look for stuff that stands out that would be interesting to us. With the Jaguar, it happened to be from a seller that we've worked with before, the exact same seller that we did the 599 and Z8 videos with, and he was very open to the idea of us filming this car. So he was in to do that. But we like to do more than one car when we go to film things. It just so happened that a McLaren MP4 12C Spider was submitted in St. Pete, Florida. I reached out to that seller and asked if he would be interested in it, and he said yes. Now, when these sellers agree to this, they also understand that the videos don't come out immediately. It takes time for us to film everything, edit everything, get a video together, put the auction together, and then go live. So there tends to be a delay, so there has to be a little bit more patience required from these sellers. But I do this all the time. I explain this with great frequency. If you type in Doug DeMuro on Cars and Bids, it will pull up every video that's related to an auction car that he's done. With almost all of them, I have reached out and explained this process before, so I'm really familiar with it and making sure people understand what it entails. Step 2. With the car selected and the sellers giving us the okay, it's time to put together the script. So let me hop on my computer and show you exactly what that looks like. This is the script for the XK140. In this particular case, I like to start with a hook that'll get people interested but give them an idea of what I'm going to be talking about. For the Jag, I wanted to underscore the point that Jaguar used to stand for reliability, cutting edge technology, speed, power, beauty, but these days, it really doesn't anymore. Nobody knows what Jaguar stands for because of their most recent marketing campaigns. So I like to go in and kind of hook people and then give some more framing behind that, and then dig into why the XK platform is important. And as I go through this, you can kind of see I've done a lot of research on the cars. I can get very technical. I tend to be very loquacious as it is, but I like to refine it to the main points that I want to talk about. The big ones I wanted to hit on here were the speed records that the XK platform set in its time. So I added all of those in and checked my figures and stuff like that, made sure that was all accurate. And then I like to bounce back and forth between the car itself and the idea of the film. So sometimes I'll be talking a little bit about the 140 itself, what's different on that compared to the 120, things like that, little details that you can pull out. And of course, we're going to overlay a lot of B-roll with that. In addition to B-roll of the actual car, we'll have some historical footage we'll overlay as well, just to make it really visually engaging. And once I've gone through all of that, then of course there's a driving scene. With all of these, I think driving is one of the most important parts. It gives you a chance to hear the car, be in the cabin with me, and for me to give my genuine reactions on exactly what it's like as someone who's driven a lot of cars. And so I think that's a really important part of it. And then we go into the closing. I kind of summarize what's important about the car and of course emphasize that it's for sale right now on Cars and Bids. Now I come up with all of this myself. I've written all of this on my own. I then will run it past our producer, Sean, and get his input on it and see if he likes it, and he will offer some creative direction. He has a lot more experience with films like these, so I really value everything he has to say. But I'll work those together, then we'll go over it with our cameraman, Sandon, who will appear in this a little bit, and you'll see him as he kind of does his thing. I'll try to capture some of that. And with all of that aligned, it's time to get in an Uber, go to the airport, fly across the country, and you'll join me in New Orleans. And here it is, the XK140. This car is astonishing. It's been so fun to go over learning the history about this car because I've never really had an appreciation for cars from the 1950s, but it's so interesting. I mean, this car really represented a period of time when Jaguar could do anything, and they kind of did. My favorite thing about the 140 is that it has this badge on the back, which reads Winner Le Mans 1951 to 1953, or 1951, 1953, because the car won. The C-Type won Le Mans in 1951, and 53. And of course, the C-Type was based on the XK platform. This car is just fascinating. The history on it is so interesting. We just filmed a bunch of stuff. There's Sandon. Hi, Sandon. He's getting B-roll and stuff. We're about to go take this car out for a drive, but what an incredible car. And again, it's wild that this is my job, but we're here with Carbine Motor Cars, like I mentioned, in Louisiana, in New Orleans. He just has a smattering of cool cars in this storage facility. But this is the star of the day, and I can't wait to hop behind the wheel. One of the other things I constantly struggle with when it comes to filming is noise. It's always something. It's either a plane, a truck, someone with a stone cutter. It's always something. There's always some noise you have to wait for and work around, and it's deeply irritating. You don't realize how noisy the world is until you attempt to film something. When there is noise, well, the thing I have learned, I think Sandon is this way too, that is when you film B-roll, because you'll be overlaying anyway, you don't need audio. So that's the time to film things. But God, it really is always something. So irritating. So Sandon's completing the rig up. There's Chris. Give us a wave, Chris. So we're just getting the cameras rigged. So we've got one here, there's one here behind my shoulder, and then Sandon's working on the van, so he'll have a couple there as well. And then we're gonna go out and drive these things. One of the things I've learned about driving these cars as you're filming is you need to be a lot closer to the camera car than you realize. You feel like you're right on the bumper of that car, but that's usually where the best shots come from. So Sandon will kind of communicate, you know, forward, go back, stop, all these things, and you get kind of used to it. But you know, with an older car, especially when you're not familiar with, you just kind of have to be a little bit more aware that, you know, brakes from the 1950s aren't exactly like modern cars. So there's always a level of trepidation. But this is actually the part that makes me the most nervous. I love driving the cars, but I always like handing the keys back at the end is kind of my favorite part. I never do anything crazy or any risky. I always treat it like my own car. But yeah, nonetheless, I get to add this to my list of cars that I've driven, which should be a topic for a whole nother video. I have a list of every single car that I drove, the date I drove it on, whose it was, what year it was, all those things on a list on my phone. So I'm happy I get to add the XK140 to that. But it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. And yeah, this is the most fun part of the job. And I can't believe that I'm at work right now. All right, now we've stopped to re-rig. We've been driving around a little bit. So you can see there's the mighty the mighty Pacifica. Sandon's just setting the camera up on the front. But driving this thing is so crazy. What an experience. There are no real windows. There's nothing to block you from the air. So occasionally wind just hits you and almost takes your glasses off. And it smells like a real car, and it just is so much fun. It's so cool. But you know, it's amazing how far cars have come in terms of, you know, like the compromises you need to make to drive this thing. But it is the coolest, and you feel like the coolest. My uncle had one of these. He had an XK. I think it was a 140 when he was, I can't remember if it was a 140 or 150. Had it when he was a kid. Like that was his first car, which is, I don't know how he did that, but it's just cool. I feel like the absolute coolest. I love this thing. And just like that, we're one car down and back in the airport. I've been through so many airports this year doing exactly this. But what a great car. Couldn't be better. But now we're headed to St. Petersburg, Florida, where I'm going to be filming with McLaren MP4 12C Spider. A very different English convertible. So really excited about that. I think that'll be great. I just have to finish up a little bit of the script here. These days are wild. They're so much fun. We went to have lunch with the person who's selling the car, Chris, again, great guy, and just had a great time. It's nice I get to visit these cities in little increments. New Orleans rules. I always love coming here. So that's one car down, one more to go. And just like that, we're in Florida. Another trip, another hotel, staying at the Moxie here in St. Petersburg. So very cool place to be. The city seems very nice, but again, I don't have a whole lot of time to explore it. It's about almost 10 o'clock now, so I have to wrap up a couple of little things, some normal administrative work. I do have an actual job outside of filming cars, and so I now have to do a couple more things and get that wrapped up, but I'm gonna go grab a quick bite to eat, although it's very late, then come back, maybe spend an hour doing that, and head to bed. And then I have to be up very early tomorrow because we want to film really early. So I have to be at the filming location at 7, which means leaving here at 6:30, which means being up at about 5:45 for me. So yeah, it's a whole thing. So that's the schedule is a little bit brutal for this particular shoot. That's just how it goes sometimes. So I'm going to go do all of that stuff, and I'll talk to you guys in the morning. Quick turnaround. Well, a new day, a new car to shoot. Sandon's getting B-roll of the MP412C Spyder. What a cool place to film. This location is amazing, and the owner is a true enthusiast, someone I always like talking to. And he used to race, and he also currently is the chief strategist of Turner Motorsport, which is a brand near and dear to my heart. So we're just getting B-roll of the car now. I just finished filming all the talking bits, and we're going to go drive the car here in just a little bit. Like I said, this is the part that I'm excited about, but I also love being able to hand the keys safely back at the end. Luckily, the weather has really worked with us. That's something we always are also fighting, is weather. On both shoots so far, it's been nice, a little chilly today, but no rain, which is really nice. So I'm very excited to drive it, especially because it's a convertible and I've never driven an MP412C. So just gonna let Sandon do his thing and then we'll hop behind the wheel. While Sandon's continuing to shoot B-roll, I often will rehearse important things that I have to say, either in the car or if there's a scene we haven't shot yet. In this case, we haven't done the intro yet. My concept for the intro is that I want a bunch of different camera angles of the car of it shifting gears and it flying past me and me delivering the introductory hook for this car. Something fast and exciting, different to the XK140 film that we just did. So I'll often go through and rehearse things. I used to play the cello, and for me, practice really helps get it in there. I need to really hear what it's going to sound like, so I will often walk back and pace back and forth and just go through it over and over and over and over again so that I can make sure the delivery is really good, because when the car goes by, I have to deliver the line perfectly. I only have really one shot to do that, so I want to make sure it is tight as possible. So I go over it a lot in my head. I'll often actually write notes. I'll write it out a couple of times, because I find translating it from being in my head and hearing it to actually writing it down is helpful to memorize stuff like that. So there are a lot of ways you use your time as you have time to wait on shoots like this. And honestly, this is a pretty, we're adding production to it, but this isn't the heaviest production thing. Production, like really big productions, mean that you wait a long time, but you have time. So that's how I use it, is just kind of rehearsing things just to minimize the number of takes that I have to do. And things like that to make it easy. And I'm outside, so I'm not in any of the B-roll shots that Sam is shooting. So yeah, that's kind of just how you make use of your time on shoots like this. And here we are inside the 12C. So just getting my seat set up, getting everything programmed. Cameras are all rolling, and Sandon's just setting up the audio back there. So we're gonna hop on the highway here, and just like yesterday, Sandon's gonna tell me what I need to know on the radio, drive around, get some pretty shots of it. I'll talk to the cameras a little bit, and yeah, we'll find out what it's like to drive an MP412C. And just like that, we're back at another airport. I just dropped the rental car off, and I'm about to get on a plane and get out of here a little bit early. As much as I like to explore places, I also like to be home, and I have not been home very much. So I'm very eager to see if I can get an earlier flight out of here and get back. But car review went great. I think that the MP412C really is an unsung hero, and I think that they're really undervalued. The car was awesome. The seller is great. It's always nice to meet nice people, and that's my favorite part of this hobby and this job, is meeting the cool people who own these cars. And yeah, it was a great trip, but we're gonna see if we can early flight out of here, get home so I can go spend some time driving the SL65. One thing I reflect on frequently, though, is how much I love my job and how cool it is. I get to travel to all of these cool places, and I get to drive these really fast cars, and it's really rewarding. And it's nice also, whenever I'm around cars, people come up and say hello. Even just dropping the Enterprise rental car off here, someone recognized me from this car pod, heard my voice, and knew who I was. And it's a little bit weird to get used to, but ultimately it's really fun, and I'm really grateful when people come up and say hi. And I'm just grateful to have all of these cool experiences, whether it's going to IMSA or driving a McLaren in Florida. I'm just having a good time. It's living the dream playing with cars, and I really wouldn't have it any other way. I never imagined my life would be like this, but it is so much fun, and I really enjoy it. I just feel like the luckiest person. And just like that, 2 days later, we're back in San Diego. The way I can describe the Cars and Bids shoots often are smash and grab sort of things. We do a lot of planning in advance, and we get there very early, and we capture as much footage as we can. But they often have to be done in a pretty compressed time frame. So it's a little bit exhausting to film these, but it's a lot of fun. Getting to drive really interesting cars, getting to meet their very cool owners, it's all a great part of the experience. And ultimately, it brings a little bit more life to these cars that are live on Cars and Bids. Both of these cars are coming up very soon. Be sure to keep an eye on Cars and Bids itself for when they go live. And of course, the Cars and Bids YouTube channel, which I'll link down below. But I have a lot of fun filming these videos. My producer has said we're going to film many more of these this year. I'm really looking forward to doing that as I have so much fun shooting these and sharing them with you guys. But thanks for asking, Jake. I hope you enjoy those, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Goodbye.